Hello, everyone. Hey, you know it's Big Ten time when we got Calvin back. We got, I said, the stat superhero, the podcast king, the betting master. Let's have him introduce himself.
Hey Eric, thanks for having me on. I'm Calvin Wetzel. Like you said, I do some work with Her Hoop Stats with CBS Sports, different outlets covering women's basketball, WNBA, college. So I'm pumped that college season is just around the corner.
Less than 30 days away, and if anyone wants to note, he's rocking the brown mamba right now, so I'm not the
It
biased
is.
one.
Courtesy of Eric. Thank you for sending me this.
She's back. We can maybe get him another one this year. She's back this year. We might have more merchandise coming his way. But we'll get all to my favorite team, to the country's favorite team, the Gophers, in a little bit. Calvin, what's some of like your opening thoughts on the Big Ten coming up?
Yeah, I think we're gonna talk about this. It's kind of a bummer that Juju's out, obviously, but this is like UCLA and then everyone else is my opening thought.
Fair.
And I think like UCLA made the Final Four, basically brought everyone back, added some pieces, and I'm just gonna be watching like, can anyone take them down? I mean, I don't think they're gonna go undefeated, but can anyone even give them a run for first place in the standings? I'm not sure, but I would love to see it be at least close. And I love UCLA, but just from a fan perspective, you like to see some drama.
And we've learned from the WNBA season, injuries can make a massive difference for a team throughout the year. So it's another nutrition of who's going to stay healthy, who if injuries maybe bump a team up, bump a team down kind of situation. Unfortunately with Juju, I won't say unfortunate, like she tore it last year. I think it's the right decision for her not to try and rush back, not to kind of try and force that. Probably the right decision to take the full year, come back full Juju. My next question though for you is, do you feel with Juju out, did that remove the Big Ten from having any country player of the year options? We have good players, but in the countrywide, nationwide, do you think we are maybe not going to be in the running for a Big Ten or conference or player of the year from the Big Ten?
I think you have one. I think you have Lauren Betts because you look at last year. Obviously, like you take away Paige Beckers too, who was in the running. Sarah Strong could be in the running as well already this early in her career,
AZ
but
Fudd, future Minnesota
AZ
Lynx
Fudd
player.
could be. Yeah, UConn's still going to be in the mix for sure. But Juju, the winner last year, out of the mix. I think Lauren Betts, and she was in the running last year. I think it's easy to forget she was pretty easily in the top five, if not the top three or four for this award last year. So I think you have one. I don't know if anyone else in the Big Ten is going to be able to be at that level, but you have one.
So I have player of the year in the conference options. Obviously starts with, would be Lauren Betts, kind of the, I would say the favorite going in. Kind of really hard to maybe upend her, barring injury or barring someone really exploding throughout the season. I have three that I have as like options, and they're kind of wild card options. And I'll get your vibe on that. I have Jelani
Okay.
Cambridge at Ohio State. Give him shout out to Minnesota here. Olivia Olson at Michigan, who I thought really like played well beyond a freshman last year. And Elle Ladine from Washington, who I really felt like in the second half of the year, coming from a team who was a Gopher fan, fried us twice. And she really, Washington is an excellent offensive thing, and she's kind of the engine because when she gets going, it's really hard to stop her. Excellent three-point shooter, big guard, big body, can handle, can, post up smaller guards. Those are kind of the four I have. And I'll also do a caveat. The reason I have Olivia over Swords, I felt Olivia was a little more this consistent, at least mostly throughout the year, where Swords was like this, where she, in maybe the biggest game, she played up some like the South Carolina and stuff, she really exploded. And then you would look at like they lost to Michigan, and she really didn't, or not Michigan, they lost to Wisconsin. Really didn't show up in a game that even if she shows halfway up, they probably easily win. I think Olivia was a little more steady, so that's why I'll give her the nod of if Michigan's going to get a player of the year, I'm going Olivia Olson.
Yeah, I mean, all of those names you said are like pretty easily first team contenders. And you mentioned injuries off the top. Like, you never want to see it, but it's a part of the game. So all of a sudden, if something happens to Lauren Betts, like that race gets wide open real quick. And everyone who you just said, I think, is very much in the running at that point. But barring something like that, I've either, an injury or some kind of like crazy leap in breakout for one of those players, which could happen, especially some of those ones you said are sophomores, and sophomores
That
is a
jump.
year where players do that. Yeah, but so I don't want to write anyone off, but barring something like that, this is Lauren Betts' award to lose.
Fair. Any other names you want to add of like part of those kind of like off the wall contenders for you throughout the conference? I have two other ones that I thought of, but I'll see if you have any other ones.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of players to watch, I'm not gonna like necessarily say player of the year candidates, but I mean Grace Van Sluten, I think, someone coming back that did really good things for Michigan State, and then Hannah Stolke at
That was
Iowa.
one of them. Yep.
Yep, obviously has been around since Caitlin Clark, and has really developed as a post player, I think, in a lot of ways. So two players I'm gonna be watching for sure as also like I would say first team contenders. But who else you got?
It's on your sweatshirt. If she come back
Of
healthy
course,
and lives
of
up to her,
course.
because I said I think she played 5 games last year, but was coming off the injury. We never really saw her, I think, at 100%, at least either mentally or physically. Last year, trying to come back from injury before the second injury occurred. Knowing that she, could have, there was that possibility at the end, could have came back, decided not to, wanted to go a full year healthy, had a more extensive surgery to kind of maybe not have the similar issue with the foot because she's had prior foot injuries. I just think Mara Braun is capable of being that 20 points per game scorer. She is the best player as soon as she steps on the court for the Gophers. I'm not saying she's going to win Conference Player of the Year. I'm just saying she's that name that, like, if everything falls right, where she's healthy and we're rolling, she could be up there, especially for first team.
Yeah, well, you had like you sent me the topics list, and top returning players was the first one, and so I have bullet points with some of the names that we've said,
Okay?
and then two of my bullet points are UCLA's pretty much entire core and Minnesota's entire core basically, which includes Mara Braun, but Minnesota brings back quite a few other solid returning players as well. I think those two teams, obviously in different ways, are the two teams that you really look at and say they've been able to develop something. They have, like in a transfer portal era where teams turn over so quick, those are the two teams that really haven't a lot. Obviously, like UCLA brought in Gianna Neepkin, like they brought in some, but in terms of like what they had last year, it's basically all there still, and same with Minnesota. And so I basically just wrote those two teams are like the whole roster basically top returning players for UCLA and Minnesota.
For the stat master, I'll just give them the number. Gophers returned 92.5% of their production from last year. All 5
There you go.
starters.
That's got to be up there in the whole country. Forget about the Big Ten. That's got, if you ranked 350 some teams in the country, that's got to be right towards the top.
Because you return all 5 starters, and Mara and Taylor Woodson come back healthy. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
like I said, we lost one senior, well, 2 seniors that had played minutes, but one only averaged like 1.2 points per game. And you had Annika Stewart was probably the biggest loss, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I want to talk about that depth with UCLA because I feel like shout out Minnesota native Gianna Neepkins from Utah heading out to UCLA. What do you think she brings different to this UCLA team that they didn't have last year that kind of makes them a little more dangerous?
Shooting number one, and not just from the 3-point line, although that's a big part of it, but she's just one of those players who can just put the ball in the hoop from wherever she is on the court. And I've talked about this on some other podcasts before. I think it's weird because the point of basketball is to put the ball in the hoop. Like you would think that would be like what like the biggest thing that
Main
you
thing.
think about. And scoring is the thing that people think about, but the specific skill set is a little bit different. It's nuanced. The specific skill set of like the hand-eye coordination to just like sometimes you have an awkward angle, or sometimes like whatever. Alyssa Peely, too, Neepkin's former teammate, was even more so this way. But some of those players, like I've said this before, I think they must just be the type of players who are like good at axe throwing, good at horseshoes, good at
Fair.
putt, like all of those things where like it's just hand-eye coordination. You're trying to aim something towards something else. Like probably they would just pick it up for the first time and just be good at it, you know. And that's the type of a player that I think Gianna Neepkins is. Like in any offense, any system, anywhere on the court, like she is good at aiming the basketball towards the hoop. And Obviously, 3-point shooting is a big part of that, but she's just efficient. She's so efficient. And that was already the case at Utah, and obviously Utah's offense was elite a couple years ago, and you lose Pili, and then you lose Lynn Roberts, and it's not quite the same as what it was. But now you go to a UCLA team that's at least that good, probably better than what that best Utah team was a few years ago offensively, and you have Lauren Betts commanding all sorts of attention inside. Yet somehow you have to worry about Gianna Neepkins on the outside, and you have all these other weapons who can get downhill, like Kiki Rice, Gabriela Jaquez. And I think Neepkins is just going to be the beneficiary of so many kickouts, whether it's like post doubles, offensive rebounds from Lauren Betts, whether it's like Kiki Rice getting 2 feet in the paint and then kicking it out for Gianna Neepkins. And Neepkins is going to get a lot of really good looks from outside and be able to like attack some of those hard closeouts if they come. So I think she just adds a dimension to this team that makes them extremely dangerous.
I think if you look at the Final Four, UConn hounded Lauren Betts. They threw 2 and 3 at her. And unfortunately, that was one of those games. Like UCLA last year was a spotty 3-point shooter. They could hit them and they could miss them. And it was one of those games, unfortunately, where you needed them because UConn was like, we're not letting, Betts get off on us. She still, I think, scored like 20. I think she still found her way to 20, maybe 18. But it was not efficient. It was not dominating. You can't double off Gianna Neepkins. And if you throw more, if they get the 2-player game going on this side, and like you said, and now you have Kiki Rice who can drive on you, you're giving up something. You're giving up one of someone's bread and butter. You either have to try and face front Lauren Betts and knock it away, or let her get it and lay it up. Either live with Gianna hitting a 3, or letting Kiki control it, like get inside of the teeth of the defense, get to the paint, and create for herself or her teammates. You have to pick one or the other, basically, with what they have. I mean, I think they lost a few 2024, class 2024, that like one went to Indiana. I think London Jones went to UCLA. And it's nothing against these as players. I'm not saying they're not good players. I think sometimes you have addition by subtraction where it just simplifies it. I think when you just have a simplify, like, hey, we know our top 6, we know our top 7, we know everyone's role, this is what they're going to do. They're not trying to overlap roles. That can really play into your favor. I think everyone knows, like, the ball needs to go through Lauren Betts. But at the same time, Gianna's going to get her open looks. Gianna can attack. Like, that's where I just think it maybe is more simple for UCLA this year. You're not trying to push-pull, trying to find roles that duplicate roles. Everyone has a defined role of what they do best, and then they're going to play to that strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And we haven't even talked about Charlize Ledger-Walker, too.
Coming back.
And another ball handler, just someone who gives you depth, and like, if it's not Kiki Rice's night, put the ball in Ledger-Walker's hands. Mm-hmm. Like, you have so many skilled guards on this team now, which is exactly what you want around Lauren Betts.
Correct. So now we're going to stay in the same state. But we talked already about Juju being out. But this next part will lead me right into who we think might be impactful freshmen coming into this year. It must be nice to, like, if you lose Juju Watkins, it's not terrible having Jazzy Davidson, the number 1 recruit in the country, stepping in. And as someone who I've seen her 2 or 3 times in person, absolutely electric. Like, it's one of those, like, she doesn't show a lot of emotion in her face, but absolutely just glides and flies up the court. You would think her body would be like, you'd think she'd be like a little more flight of frame, get pushed around. She gets to her spot. She gets to the lane. She can hit the 3 ball. I would probably say Jazzy Davidson, at least right now, has all the openings and all the abilities to be Big Ten Freshman of the Year, if not even Big Ten, like, first team as a first-year player.
Yeah, I think, well, there's only 2 that I think are almost certainly going to win that, and the other one is from the team we just talked about, Sienna Betts at UCLA. But the problem, as good as Sienna Betts is, joining her sister, the problem for her is that she's just in a log jam coming in with all that depth. Yep. Jazzy Davidson is going to get the keys right away with Juju not healthy, and so when you talk about the stats and the opportunity and the volume, it's definitely going to be Jazzy Davidson's award to lose if you're looking at freshman of the year. But I agree. I mean, that is a luxury, and I hope that she sticks around, because you never know these days with transfers what's going to happen. I really, really hope that we get to see a season from now, getting ahead of myself, Jazzy and Juju together, because that's going to be one of those combos that no one's going to have an answer for.
If they do stick around, you also get to add the following year's number 1 player in the country, Sanaya Hall. So you'll have 3. You'll have 3 number 1 players in their class together if they all stick around. So I would like to see that. Not as a Gopher fan. That would be miserable to try and go against. But as a Big Ten basketball fan, I would like to see that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I'll throw a few other freshmen at you. There's 2 other 5-stars in the Big Ten, 5-star recruits. You have Addie Deal at Iowa. And I think now she's different than Caitlin. Like, I don't think we're going to see Addie Deal pulling up from half court. There is no second Caitlin Clark. Like, she is one of her own. But Addie Deal is a 6'1", big, strong guard who can score the ball any way imaginable. I think, like, if you have another one of that, like, granted, it's a freshman, so you're going to have those freshman bumps and everything. But Iowa knows they can run an offense around that. Like, Iowa has shown, like, if you have a ball-dominant, outstanding scoring guard who's a great passer, magic can happen. I'm not saying it's going to get to that level, but I do think she is one of those, like, she'll be, like, a top 15, 20 player in this conference right off the bat just because they kind of have the blueprint of how to run for a freshman guard that's outstanding like that. The other one is Bryn, I think it's McCaffrey at Washington. She's a 5-star.
I also don't know how to say it.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, so she's a 5-star at Washington, and then she's like a wing, athletic, like forward, kind of stretch forward. Adding that to, they return their top 4 scorers. They bring Avery Howell over from USC, and now you add a 5-star, 6'3", shooting post. Washington's going to be all right, I think. Washington's going to be decent. So, and then selfishly, once again, when I look at impactful freshmen, I don't necessarily mean freshman of the year, but I'm looking at people like Jordan Odie from, Minnesota, but going to Michigan State for the guard. And then I'm going to say McKenna Christian at the Gophers. And this is why I say it. We talked about what they lost in Annika Stewart graduated. And it was a perfect mix of when Sophie Hart would bang for 2 or 3 minutes, get down low, and then she would go out, and then Ani would come and drill threes. You would see that, like, person that would guard both of them would be like, oh, crap, now I got to go out there. Like, they caught a lot. She got, I would say almost every one of Ani's first threes wide open because the defender was so used to banging down low for the first 2 or 3 minutes. And McKenna Christian had that similar game. She's 6'1", so not as big as Ani. Outstanding three-point shooter, big, strong forward, freshman. But I think the reason I say impactful is she has that ability to step into that Ani situation where you have Sophie returning for her last year, bang for 2-3 minutes, and come in and you get smaller, but then you still have that outside shooting. Those are the freshmen that I had listed for me.
Yeah, I love all those. And to Washington as a team, I think the arrow is pointing straight up for them right now. When you look at last year and the momentum that they have, we've already talked about some other players on that team too. I did have one more 2 freshmen that I'm interested in seeing, and that's Destiny Jackson at Illinois.
Yeah.
From Whitney Young High School, there's a lot of basketball talent out of there for people who've been following basketball for a while, like Jaleel Okafor, Quentin Richardson. Women's side, you got Lene Harper. So she's definitely coming from kind of a basketball hotbed, and there's a lot of usage opening up on that Illinois team, which we're going to talk about a little bit as well. I think it's another one of those situations she's walking into that's wide open to produce right away. And Shauna Green, fantastic coach, knows how to develop players. So Destiny Jackson, I think someone that I'm looking at as a little bit of like a sleeper impact freshman as well.
I think Illinois, if I remember correct, had 4 top 100 recruits all coming in. And like you said, there's so many minutes. Kendall Bostic is gone. That 3 backcourt of Adalia, Genesis Bryant, and then Madrika Cook, all are gone. Like, that's 4 starters right there that played so many.
Hill.
There's 5
everyone. Yeah, basically everyone's gone.
So that's why these freshmen, Illinois has, like, freshmen are always going to have freshman walls, freshman mistakes, all that. Everyone understands that. But there's getting them developed at this early. It's just, you see what that can be like with a team like Washington, where you've had those the 22s, Gophers, 22s. A team, when they develop young, you go through those bumps, and it probably sucks being in that freshman year at those bumps, but it pays dividends come sophomore, junior, and senior year. And so Illinois, I think they're going to catch people. They're probably one of those teams that I think might lose a game or two that they probably shouldn't, might win a game or two they probably shouldn't.
Oh, absolutely. Illinois is going to be very inconsistent, and they're going to have some head-scratching losses where the freshmen are being freshmen. But they're also going to have one of those games where all the talent kind of comes together and the shots are going in, and you see what they can be in a year or two, and they knock off, like, maybe not UCLA, but...
Hey, no Lauren Betts. It could be happening. Lauren Betts is gone next year.
Yeah, no, well, who? But this season, I don't know who, but they're gonna knock off someone ranked for sure.
Fair. Now I have a storyline that I found interesting. We've talked about it a little bit here throughout these. The amount of interconference transfers was wild to me. And not just interconference transfers. There's people like London Jones.
Jones.
When you go from to a rival, that's wild to me. Like UCLA to USC is wild. Avery Howell went from USC to Washington. You have one of you talked about before in a previous show, Maggie Mendelson going from Nebraska to Penn State. Maybe more of a volleyball thing, but she's going to play for both.
Yarden Garzone, maybe not a rival, but within the conference.
Went to the interconference. McMiller, who we won't get on that situation, but we'll just say she went from Rutgers to Penn State, so we'll see how that works out this year. A lot of What are your thoughts on that? Is that just the age of college basketball that we're in? Is it something specific for the Big Ten where they want to stay in the Big Ten? What are your thoughts maybe on interconference transferring?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to hear from some of the players and see if if they are trying to stay within the conference to travel to some of the same spots or anything like that. But I don't think it's just the Big Ten. I mean, like Mylasia Fulwiley went from South Carolina to LSU in the SEC. That's kind of a big headlining one. But I think this is a thing that's happening more and more as transfers happen more and more. Transfers to rivals and within the same conference happen more and more as well. And it's one of those things that it's at the end of the day like dollar signs, and
Fair.
throw the rivalry out the window if you got the dollar signs.
I like it. I want to talk another thing to you because the men changed, shocking, and the women did not. Any strong feeling that there's still only 15 of the 18 making the Big Ten Conference?
I think it's weird. Well, here's what I think is weird. I don't even mind not everyone making it once you get to 18. What I don't understand is why team number 16 doesn't make it. I understand 17 and 18 not making it. I personally think it would be cool if everyone made it because it's more basketball and it's more potential for chaos in March, but I wouldn't really like hold a grudge if they wanted to keep 17 and 18 out. I get it. Like that, you add another day at that point, depending on how you
Fair.
format. But why don't you do like you have the first day when 10 plays 15 and 11 plays 14 and 12 plays 13? Why don't you have 9 versus 16 as well? Have a full 4-game slate the same way you do on day 2 and day 3 where you get down to 12 and then you get down to 8 and you have 8 teams playing 4 games. Why don't you just do that 3 days in a row? And like the old Big East used to do that. The Big East that used to be 16 teams, they used to do that format where they would have all 16 play. You would have 9 versus 16 on day 1, and like men's and women's. And on the men's side, actually, not to get too much into men's on this podcast, but it turned into some like really electric games. Like Kemba Walker for UConn making that run to the championship started out as a 9 seed in that Big East tournament, had to beat the 16 seed on day 1 and then go win 5 straight days and then get in the NCAA tournament. So there's some excitement that can come from that. And it doesn't, you have the 4-game
Built in.
stop.
Right.
Like that's a thing you do anyway on the next day and the next day. Why not just do it on day 1 as well? That part I don't understand.
I fully agree with that. Next thing I want to know if you have strong feelings on, why is the Big Ten afraid to go beyond ranking the top 5?
Beyond ranking the top
The
5.
preseason coaches
poll you're
and media
talking?
only rank the top 5. Why don't we? Every other conference does 1 through 18. Like, are we that afraid to offend 18?
That's a great question. I mean, behind the scenes, everyone's got to be ranked, right? There is a 6th place team. They just don't publish it. So it is a good question. I don't know.
It was the same 5 teams too. Just all they switched was, I think both had UCLA and Maryland 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They switched 3 and 4. One had Michigan, one had USC. Switched, and then they had Ohio State at 5. They had the same 5. I've always wanted to see like where they have the rest of them. Every other conference does. I want to know why we don't. But
I don't understand it either.
I mean, let's be honest. Charlie Cream, he already has his bracketology out. He has 13 Big Ten teams making it. I think that's psychotic, but he has 13 teams at least right now in the preseason making it. We had 12 last year. We got 12 making it last year. You have like that Nolan Warren who have like every website does prediction 1 through 18. Just put it out there. Like,
Yeah.
if the 18 team's upset, prove people wrong. But
Yeah.
But speaking of that, that's a prequel. That's a preview for later on. Calvin, we will have a 1 through 18 thing with Calvin, but we're going to try and get him in trouble.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
We'll get him in trouble with it somehow, but we'll let him know that in a little bit.
Okay.
So this is what I want to ask. We talked about like returning players. Is there any returning player that you feel like maybe people are sleeping on, underrated, not getting enough shine right now that you think are coming into this year, are ready to explode, not only conference-wise, but could be national-wise?
I got two of them for you, maybe more so conference-wise. But the first one, going back to Illinois, a lot of usage opening up. Barry Wallace, sophomore
Yep.
leap that we talked about. She only averaged 9 points per game last year, but again, coming off the bench behind all sorts of talent last year and very efficient 9 points per game. And now, I mean, they all, outside of her, they only return 18 total starts. So
Welcome,
it
fresh start.
basically they lost like 4.5 starters, I would say. And yeah, she might have all the opportunity in the world if she wants it this year to go out and become a big time scorer for them. And then the other one who also is having some opportunity open up maybe in some different ways or for some different reasons is Kennedy Smith at USC, another sophomore again. Of course, bringing Jazzy Davidson, so she's not going to leapfrog to be like that best player on the team, but without Juju and you lose some other players like you mentioned, Avery Howell, you lose the transfer, of course, some graduations as well.
Kiki Iriafen, a pretty big
Uriah
one.
Fenn, yep. Rhea Marshall, Talia Von Olhoffen, a lot of players from that team are gone now for either at another school or done with college, whatever the case. And so I think Kennedy Smith is going to be another one that really felt like she was starting to put things together last year as well, and now she's going to have an opportunity to do that with like a much bigger load on her shoulders. So she's someone I'm watching this year.
I'm, of course, going to add one. I think Tori McKinney blew away a lot of the Big Ten because I think a lot of people she came in known as a defensive stopper. She ended up being one of the best offensive options we had in games. I think if we look at the tournament when they won in the WBIT, she was the MVP of the tournament for having 26 points in that game. Just plays fearless, just didn't know what she didn't know, and was just that. If I ever had to tell you, like, describe a Dawn Plitz-a-White player, just put up a photo of Tori McKinney. Like, long, lanky, athletic defender. We don't even press. We just literally we tell Tori, you pick up the ball handler. No matter who the ball handler is, Tori and she has gotten maybe 2 or 3 steals, sometimes in the biggest games, in doing that. I look at highlights of, we switched in the Illinois game when we came back and won at the barn. We switched her to point guard and had it initiate with her because she was getting past their fast guards. That's a big win for us. Illinois and Indiana were the 2 big wins, I think, for the Gophers last year. In the Florida game, Minnesota's own Liv McGill. Now, don't get me wrong. That's a Hopkins-Minnetonka rivalry right there. They played each other in high school. They knew each other's games. She held Liv McGill scoreless in the entire second half of that Final Four of the tournament. I think Tori McKinney, because I do not see her leaving the starting lineup. We return all 5 starters, but you have to find a starting spot for Mara Braun. I just think Tori McKinney as a sophomore, like, now that people know her offense, and now you're adding a Mara Braun who has to get so much more attention, I would dare teams to leave Tori McKinney open from 3-point range and let her still like kind of roam because the speed and the confidence that she's going to have now, I just think are unmatched.
Yeah, sophomores. That's the theme, sophomores.
So we like to play this one. We got one right last year in this next option. How about coaches? Now, we're going to make a caveat. One, we got a new coach here in Wisconsin. We can't say Joe McKeown because he's already announced he's retiring, so we can't say that there's going to be a new coach here because we already know there's going to be a new coach there. Any coaches that you think possibly on the hot seat, possibly need to maybe have a little bit of a run this year to maybe keep that job? Just to start to get them in trouble a little bit. We'll dip our toes here.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's not a lot, to be honest. You maybe look at Purdue and I mean how they played last year. That was
Rough.
you'd have to be better than that. But outside of that, I mean, maybe Rutgers.
I got one more. I got Penn
Yeah.
State.
Penn State.
I think she's gonna
that was
have
the other one I was thinking about.
she's gonna have to hit on those transfers. They're gonna have to pull something
Yeah.
because they were bottom. I think they were actually the bottom. They were number 18 last year. You're gonna have to do better than that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got
Yeah. So that's you.
Wisconsin. I said they've gotten off the hot seat. They have a new coach. We'll see how
Yeah.
if it's any different from when she was at Missouri, but they got a new coach. Now, any predictions of who might replace Joe McEwen? I have a feeling I see some stuff behind you on the wall. Any predictions of who might take that job?
Listen, I mean, she should get a call. She deserves it. She's earned it for sure. But outside of that, no. Honestly, I don't know. Who knows? I think there are going to be a lot of people who get calls, and we'll see what direction they go.
Fair. Northwestern, stay away from the Gopher staff. I want none of those assistants to leave. None of those assistants to leave. Now we're going to go to what's become one of my favorite parts after I figured out how to do it. We have the Kelvin bets. We have the money lines.
Okay.
We have 8 of them before we get to the part that might really get them in trouble. But here we go.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
These might be bad, but once again, we're trying here. It's a lot harder with college, but we're going to try and get the money lines. 3.5 losses to the regular season conference winner.
Over under.
Over under.
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 UCLA is losing 2, 3 at most.
2.5 players to average 20 points per game. We had 2 last year. One is out.
2.5. Oh, that's a good question. I'm gonna say under as well. I'm gonna say two again, 1 or 2.
Okay. 2.5 players average a double-double during the Big Ten season. We only had 1 last year.
Oh man.
If I'm making them think, I'm doing my job right.
Yeah, you are. I'm just kind of going through the teams here, trying to figure out who else is doing that besides Lauren Betts. I think the answer is no one.
I'll say Lauren Betts wasn't even the one last year. It was Kendall Bostic. That was the only one that averaged a double-double last year.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point. Yeah, I think Lauren will do it this year, though.
Now, 1.5 teams that finished... 1.5 teams will finish in the top 10 of the country by the end of the season in the Big Ten. Over or under?
Like in the AP poll?
AP top 10 in the country. 1.5.
I think they'll get a second one. I think someone, maybe Maryland, maybe Ohio State, I think someone will work their way into like 9th or something like that.
Fair. I didn't know how else to do this, so I'm going to do half a team of the bottom 3 teams will now make the conference team, over or under. And the 3 that missed the conference last year, Penn State, Northwestern, Purdue, missed the conference tournament. I'm putting it at half a team, over or under, will make the conference tournament this year.
I don't know who it's going to be, but one of those 3 I think will get in. I think one of those 3 will beat out, I'll say, Wisconsin.
Now we get to the tournament aspect. Charlie Cream has 13 of them. I think he's insane. 12 of them made it last year. I'm putting it at 10.5 teams make the NCAA tournament. Over or under?
I think over. I think 13's a lot. You give me 12.5, I would say under. But 10.5, I'll say over. I think 11-ish.
Okay.
Maybe 12.
We're doing the half team again. Half a Big Ten team makes the Final Four. Over or under?
Over.
I think
UCLA is making the Final Four.
There we go. And then my always selfish, we're going to recap last year. Calvin said without Mara Braun, if she misses the whole Big Ten season, they would be under 6.5 wins. He said if she came back, they'd be over 6.5 wins. Mara Braun did not play in any Big Ten games last year, and they went 8-10. Now this year, I'm going to put a little higher. Gophers, 10.5 wins in conference. Over or under?
10.5.
They were 8-10 last year with 5 losses by 6 points or less.
Ooh.
I have to give him.
That's a really good line, Eric. I think that's a very, very 50-50 line. I'm gonna say over.
I'm gonna say over.
Because I know this is a Minnesota pod.
It's a Big Ten pod. We don't have any favorites here, no matter what our sweatshirts say.
Oh yeah.
Fair. Now, the part that I'm hoping gets him into good trouble, not a lot of trouble. We said the 1 through 18. This part is going to be called overrated, underrated, or appropriately rated. I did mine, who I think will go 1 through 18. We will start at 18, and I'll name you my team that I have at 18, and so forth and up. You have to say if I have them overrated, underrated, or appropriately rated. One caveat. Okay. Any team that you say is overrated, you have to say why I have them too high, in your opinion. So we're going to get them in trouble here, I hope.
All right.
Number 18, Northwestern.
Ooh, I mean, when you get down there, listen, I'm not going to pretend like I know how to split hairs between the bottom few teams in the league.
It was hard.
But off the top of my head, without really diving in too deep, I think I would have had Wisconsin. So I'll say
underrated.
Underrated, barely.
Okay. I have number 17 at Rutgers.
Sounds about right. Say appropriate.
16, I have Wisconsin.
Okay, so I'll say a little bit overrated.
What was the reason? Just kind of the new faces? What's the reasoning behind it?
I think just year one, new phase, new coach. It's hard. It takes some time.
15, Purdue.
I think that's about right.
14, Penn State.
Yep.
13, Indiana.
Ooh. I mean, wow. That's one of those where you say that number, it sounds like that's pretty low for Indiana, but then you look at all the other teams and like, well, who am I putting them above?
And all they lost. They only returned 2 players from last year's team.
Yeah. I'm still gonna say underrated. I think they're gonna beat out a couple other teams here.
12, Oregon.
That was one of the teams I was gonna say I think Indiana beats out. So I'll say slightly overrated.
Any reason behind the overrated?
I mean, it's splitting hairs between Indiana and Oregon, but at the end of the day, I think I trust Terry Morin more than I trust Kelly Graves.
Fair. This one we'll see. 11, I have Michigan State.
I think underrated.
10, Illinois.
Because I was going to say the reason I was waiting for you to get to them. And listen, I love Illinois. I've been hyping them up. Barry Wallace, their freshman. But it's another one of those teams that it's going to take some time for them. And so when you had Michigan State, I was waiting for you to say Illinois because I was going to say if you don't have Illinois here, then whoever you have here is underrated because I would have them above Illinois.
Okay, so we'd switch.
I have Illinois a little bit over. I would flip those.
Fair. 9, I have Nebraska, missing Alexis Markowski for the first time in 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah.
Now here's where we're going to get a little more spicy. 8, Iowa.
Yeah. I'm with that one too. I'm looking at the teams we have left. Mm-hmm. Every time you say a team, I'm looking at who we got left. I'm like, would I put them above any of those teams? I don't think so. So I think.
And here's where Calvin proved that I'm not biased because he either has to agree or disagree. I have number 7, Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. I'm going to say appropriate on that one.
Number 6, I am not really sold on, so I disagree with the media and the coaches. I have Ohio State at 6.
Oh, okay. There's a team you haven't said yet that I would have them above, so I'm going to say underrated.
The only reason I say it is because Cody McMahon is gone, and Jelani Cambridge had moments last year where she disappeared. And where Cody, I mean, I think that's like you're missing and Taylor Theory, I think you're missing big pieces to what they do. And so that's why with Ohio State, I'm like, I gotta see Jelani kind of take that leap before I'm kind of like ready to say you're ahead of the other ones I have. But my number 5, I have Washington.
Yeah, that's the team I was gonna say flip those teams and have Washington at 6, just because they're another one. And again, we've said lots of positive things about them on this pod, and this is gonna be their best season in quite a while. But if they're gonna be really top 4 or 5, I think I need to see it.
Okay. Number 4, USC.
Yep.
Now here's where we're really going to test him to see if he agrees with me. I have number 3, Maryland.
Ooh, I'm gonna flip 2 and 3 for you. So I'm gonna say underrated on Maryland, overrated on assuming I know who number 2 is.
You don't think I have UCLA at number two?
I hope not.
Nope, I have Michigan. I'm just sold on that sophomore class. I think you
Yeah.
add Bucknell transfer, who's like 6'3" wing. You're adding Mackenzie Matherin as a freshman. I just think that if those three freshmen all take a leap together, and they were already one of the better teams last year, I just think they could. Because here's my thing with Maryland, and I stand by this with Maryland. They are very good at the end of the year. They always seem to pull together. But they also have to take 2 or 3 months to kind of really mesh because they build a brand new team every year. It's
No,
always
that is fair. So how I'm thinking about this, I guess, and maybe we can talk about this, is not necessarily the team that they're putting on the court.
where they'll
Like
finish.
they played a game literally today on October 7th, is the team that it's going to be in March because I think Maryland is one of those teams that like always figures it out. Doesn't matter who they bring back, who they lose, who the new pieces
You're not
are.
wrong.
When you get to March, they are always in the conversation. Always.
You're not wrong. And then number one, UCLA. Do I have that correct?
Obviously appropriately rated.
Okay, so we only had him go over on one, two, three, four, five. Five of them you said were overrated, so we didn't get you into too much trouble.
Okay, okay, yeah. I mean, I think most of those that I had over underrated were like one spot. I would have flipped 2 and 3, or I would have flipped like 10 and 11, or whatever the case.
I just loved hearing that I didn't have the Gophers way overrated because, once again, we returned 92% of our scoring,
Yeah,
and this is where
hard to beat that.
this is where I'm gonna go my little spiel about the Gophers.
Okay.
Once we returned all five starters and we were, I say, a win away from being in the NCAA tournament because we were that 13th team. 12 of them made it. We lose at home to Iowa by 6. We lose at home to Michigan by 5. Both of those games were up in the fourth quarter at one point. I think you look at Oregon, we lose by 6. These are all at home, and these are all games without Mara Braun that you're either tied or leading going into the third quarter. Now, granted, you have to find a way to. You should have still probably won some of those, and there's some issues there. But I, I mean, Ohio State. You go to Ohio State and take them to overtime to lose by single digits. Maryland, you lose by 6 in a 99-93 shootout out there, and that's on the road. Everything is there for you. I just think, and you were missing 25 points per game between Mara and Taylor Woodson. I think when you add those players back, you're adding a scoring punch, you're adding a go-to scorer in Mara, because a lot of times, unfortunately, we talked about this when Mara went down. The Gophers were used to it from the year before. They kind of went into mode of like we've done, and that's why I don't think they completely fell off fell off like they did the year before. They were able to still find wins. Tori McKinney's production, helped having that freshman, step in there and really. I just think you add all five of those starters. You now have Amaya Battle, Mallory Heyer, and Sophie Hart as all seniors. They've been there through it all. They've never missed games. You have now Mara Braun coming back. Tori McKinney's taking that sophomore leap. Taylor Woodson, who can play really the 3 through 5 for you if you want to do small ball 5. You've added post. You added some shooting with the freshman coming back. I think the guard Briley Glenn from Kansas State is a 6-foot big strong guard who can provide depth now to. Basically, what they need to find is a way to get Amaya Battle off the court for 10 to 15 minutes and not have it look like the Titanic is actively sinking as soon as she steps off the court. There were moments last year in games where she would come off and it would be 30 to 35 seconds of game time and you would have a 6-point lead or 7-point lead instantly to a deficit. That's how quick turnovers would happen. That's how quick it would go off the rails. I think having Mara changes that. I think having a go-to scorer changes that. Just the pull that Mara has on the court. I've even went back to look at a few of the first games. As she touches the ball, all 5 defenders' heads look at her. That is so much. And you have Amaya who, I'll stand by this. And as much high as I am up on Michigan, when we lost to Michigan last year at home, Amaya Battle scoring 30-plus points was the best player on that court, bar none. She just had very little help. Grace Grohalski is, entering her junior year. I'll call her like the Gopher Bridget Carlton. Just doesn't look like she should. You wouldn't pick her out of the lineup of being like the best basketball player, but just super smart, great handler, hits the 3-ball, big. I said we now have that tournament run where we won the tournament against. This wasn't just like, no offense to some teams, like you weren't beating third-rate teams. You were beating Florida's and Belmont's and that the overtime game I think you had when it came to Gonzaga. Like, you had to beat great teams without Mara. Now you're adding Mara. So that's my little speech. That's why I'm so high on the Gophers. I think you finally have like some of the most depth in the conference.
No bias though, like you said, right? Big Ten pod.
Correct. That was my little spiel for the day.
Love it.
So I wanted now another one we always ask for. What are some? Do you know offhand some big matchups involving Big Ten teams, non-con, that you kind of think, hey, this could be a really good measuring stick for that team, for the conference, that people really need to make sure they check out that game to check out the Big Ten.
Yeah, well, there aren't a lot of them early. Like you got to wait a few weeks to get into these. But the biggest ones, Nebraska and Illinois, get to take on a juggernaut this year. They get to take on the Illinois State Redbirds.
So Calvin's going to be there for both of those.
A huge matchup for them. No, but you get some UConns. You get Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Iowa. They all get to play UConn. USC and Penn State get to play South Carolina. Those are the two teams outside of the Big Ten that if you're going to test yourself, that's who you go play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then of course some of the usual Nebraska, Creighton, Iowa versus the other Iowa schools. I'm always tuned into those. Those are always elite matchups. You get the LA schools versus a couple North Carolina schools, which are ones I have circled. USC versus NC State, the Ally tip-off, then WBCA Challenge, UCLA versus North Carolina, and then maybe the headliner. You can maybe talk about the South Carolina or UConn matchups, but probably the one that I'm looking forward to most, to be honest, save the best for last here, UCLA versus Texas, the day before Thanksgiving. And I will admit that I did not look at all the Thanksgiving tournament brackets and project out who could potentially play who if they win.
Right.
And on the third day of some of those Thanksgiving tournaments. But in terms of the matchups that are already 100% guaranteed, UCLA Texas at the beginning of that tournament is going to be fantastic basketball.
It's hard to get excited for some of those games when you know Flow Hoops, or we're going to have to watch them.
Yeah,
so,
right.
No offense to Flow Hoops, but I'm just saying, like, it's hard to get...
hey, a rematch of what would have been the third place game in the country if we had one, right?
And I'm curious, that's a great test for Lauren Betts to show that she's more than just a catch and shoot around the rim. Because I think there's a lot of questions of Lauren Betts, what she's going to do at the next level, because she's one of those up in there for like a top pick kind of thing. In the WNBA, you have people like Brittany Griner, Alana Smith, Asia Wilson, Alyssa Thomas. You can't just post up kind of at the rim, throw it up to them, and think you're going to get a layup. It's going to get swatted. It's going to get... You have to be able to kind of move, have a little bit of a jump shot. That Texas is huge. They always are massive. They're big. They're strong. They kind of like to bang around a little bit. They're very like, we're going to bang down low. I think it's a good test for her to show like that she can maybe use other skill sets of hers, use a free throw line extended jumper, finish up through contact of bigger bodies, finish over bigger bodies, because no one's really going to match her height-wise in the Big Ten. Maggie at Penn State would maybe be one body that could kind of get up there. But nationally, at least, or that's going to prepare her for like a pro career, Texas is probably her best matchup to kind of figure out how are you going to score against pro-level, pro-sized bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she can do it because, you look at her career, she's added something to her game and developed her game, since Stanford, going back to the beginning of her career. And, like, passing was a big question mark, and that's important when you're big who's getting doubled all the time. And she's answered that question, I think. And so that's one of those things I do think that's the next evolution to her game, like you said, that she needs to add if she's going to become a star at the pro level. But I think she will.
And especially with, Gianna and then Walker. Sorry, I couldn't even speak it. She's going to have more openings, and I think that prepares her for the pros because no one's really doubling in the pros. I mean, far and few between options. You usually typically get one-on-one, but it's typically against a big, strong 6'4", 6'5", 6'2", 6'3"-ish, massive muscles. Like, you get one-on-one. You just have to find a way to maneuver past or through them. And so she can show she can do that this year by kind of getting more used to, like, hey, you're one-on-one, Lauren. You have to own that matchup, especially in college. Because pros are just going to beat the crap out of you. We saw that. We have an issue with that right now, that people are just beating the crap out of people.
Well, and they're not going to let you catch her by the rim either. That post position that you get when you first catch the ball. Like, look at Brittany Griner. She has the ability to hit those little kind of like short mid-range jumpers, those turnarounds from like 10 feet. And you're going to have to do that at the pro level because you're not going to always catch the ball in the block. They're going to push you out. People are going to be bigger and stronger than you. Maybe not taller, but bigger and stronger. And they're going to push you out and you're going to catch the ball outside of the paint or at the elbow and you're going to have to be able to score whether shooting from those spots or being able to make a move and put the ball on the floor from those spots like we see Asia Wilson do from the elbow with that rip through and that's going to be something that you're going to have to add to your bag.
And that's the fact is you see Asia Wilson, Brittany Griner, Brianna Jones, all have had to add 3-pointers to their like. That's how much the game has developed. Is these are players that had to add 3-point shots to still continue to open up the paint for them a little bit more. Like I said, you have people like Nafisa Collier, Jonquil Jones, Brianna Stewart. Those aren't maybe the same height as her, but they're going to probably push her around and make her if she puts it on the floor, they're maybe quicker. That's just where I think like Lauren, like I'm not really sold on yet saying she's the number one pick yet. We don't know who's all in the draft, if we're going to have a draft. So that's another whole video on this on the else. But that's where I think like Texas, like those kind of matchups, she has to use those as like learning tools for her. Because like I said, the knock on her, we saw in UConn. UConn fronted her and UConn put bodies around her and she wasn't really effective after that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So we'll end it with this. We use any surprises you think is going to come in the Big Ten? Anything you think we're going to look back and be like, wow, we were wrong, or wow, we really didn't see that coming? Anything of that nature, Calvin, before we wrap up?
Oh man, I probably should have one, but if I did, then it wouldn't be a surprise to me, right? So
Any throw to the wall, see if it sticks kind of situation? Any predictions?
um, I mean, man, I don't know. I think Ohio State's going to be better than when you have them. I don't know if that counts as a surprise, but I trust in that system and Kevin McGuff. USC, I do think they're not going to be like a Final Four contender without Juju, but they're still going to be right there towards the top, competing in that tier below UCLA for a bye in the conference tournament. I'm not really going out on too many limbs here, but honestly, I don't have anything crazy for you. No.
I'll go wild a little bit. I don't think Ohio State's going to host the first or second round of the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
I think they're out of the top four. I'm going to say
All right.
easily.
We're going to come back to this one because one of us is going to be wrong.
I think they're easily out of it. Cody McMahon, I think, is a big loss for them. Granted, there were games where she didn't really seem too invested anyway, but I do think it was a big loss to not have Cody McMahon.
Yeah, no, that is true.
So that's all I got. I said, I think we're under, 28, 29 days away from the beginning of the college season.
Yeah.
I'll do my normal shout out. I think Gophers have some great games that Calvin should maybe check out. We're still trying to get him to come up to the barn, but he refuses to if Marbron's not playing. So guess who's playing this year? And I think they come closer to you. Like they're in Kansas this year. That's going to be a good non-con. An underrated game for them, I think, is they play USF in one of those tournaments. And USF, shout out to them, have Duke, South Carolina, and UConn all coming to USF.
I love that.
That is a massive schedule
Good
for
Jose.
them. So I'm hoping that they win one of those three, and then the Gophers get them. Because there's your NCAA tournament ticket right there.
There you go.
So I'll take that. But I said, I'll probably be texting Calvin throughout the season. We're gonna try and get him up to a Gopher game. Gopher fans, bother him in the comments. So if people want to bother you, Calvin, in the comments, where can they find you?
Well, other than the YouTube comments on this, you can find me at CWetzel31 on pretty much whatever social media.
Yeah, he's on all of them. So make sure you hit him up and tell him he should come to a Gopher game because Marbron's playing this year in the Braun Mamba. He has to see in person one time when she's not injured.
I don't know if you want me. I will say that I was at the game where she did one of the injuries that she had. I was at the game where she did get injured, so I might be bad luck. It was at Illinois.
We'll give him credit because she also injured herself in shoot-around last year. So we'll give him credit.
I know she's had a few injuries. I was not at all of them, but I was at one of them, right in front of it, actually, right by the Minnesota bench. So Minnesota fans might want me to stay away.
We'll attempt it again. One time's an accident. If it happens twice, you're maybe not allowed at the barn then ever again.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you for doing this as always. I said we'll probably maybe get you in for like a mid-season one. I know you're always busy, so I like to hit you up like a month in advance. So we'll see. But thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.